Okay, today we're going over my project for fall 2018. Our goal was to make a cube, um, with four different sides. So let me give us a little example. We had to choose two different styles right here and put a 4x4 array on four different faces of a six-sided cube skeleton, and then we got to pick two. So my choices were the M right here, the little square, horizontal rectangle, vertical rectangle, and the big square. And then E right here, the little squares with that. And then I gotta pick one, and I'll show you what I picked. After we go through my code, what I'm gonna do right now is actually start running the code. Well, there's a final picture of it. I'm gonna run the code because it does take a minute to do. So I'm just gonna let it run simultaneously. So I'm just gonna quickly. I draw a skeleton, and then here's the two faces: the star face, which I gotta choose, and then there is the four rectangle face. And so let me go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so the skeleton, it is just where I'm doing a helper function to find box, which is just a square, and the skeleton, really, I'm just gonna use that to make a bunch of boxes over and over, to do the four, and then I go back, and then I make the two up and down, almost like it's a hopscotch. Um, Now, okay, what I wanted to do was do a bunch of functions and not call anything till the very end. So I just made function after function after function. So the star side face of the cube. First thing was I had to define a function to draw a star, which the angle is 144 degrees, and I just found that 360 divided by the number of sides I wanted was going to give me the angle. Uh, and then I had to define the square again. Uh, the thing with this one is I had to get this star perfectly lined with the square. What I had to do was go forward the length minus the length times the sine of zero point 0.2, which is 45 degrees in radians, times math times pi. So the math times sine was something I hadn't seen before. I'd seen math.pi, but I haven't seen math dot sine. So I definitely had to do a little bit of searching there for it. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna take this function and I call for that function right there. So I'm gonna draw a square, and then I'm gonna draw a star inside of the square. Um, and then I'm going to do a row of that. I'm going to do a row of all the squares. And then the face is, I'm going to do four rows, so it's a whole face. And notice I did the parameters so I could change the colors. So all I had to do the opposite colors was change the inside color and the outside color to mirror each other. Now this is the four different side squares. First, we defined this regular square, which is a little tiny square, and then the vertical square, which was the up and down square, horizontal square, which was the square that goes horizontally, and then the big square. The thing about these, I had to define all four of them. That way, I could just squeeze them together, and once I squeezed them together, I just did a row of the M pattern. And once I got the row together, you could just do a face of 4x4 for the face, and I called that face one. And now this is side E, a big square with a bunch of small squares as a border. Um, so the square we defined, and then from there we defined a line of the squares. And then from there we did a square of squares, which was the complete border. So the square of squares just took the line of squares and made a left turn, went forward, made a left turn. So really just like a square of squares. That's why I called it square square. This function was pretty long right here, but this is the middle square, so it's going to draw the border of squares, and then it's going to go into the center, and then it's going to draw one big square, which is the middle square. And then from there, row, honestly, we just, for I in range 4, we just do bam, 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 each of the middle squares. And then once you have the row down, like I said, it's just a 4x4 define face for I in range 4 row. It's just that simple of a function. Once you get all the helper functions, it's not too bad to try to get the big face done. And then I just call everything. So I didn't call anything throughout my whole code. And I wanted to find the length of 207. So you'll notice throughout my whole code, the parameters are um, interchangeable. So really, you could put your length as 500, and everything in the code changes to match perfectly. And then I just well, here we have, I go forward, I go right, I go left, and then I call my first face, and then I position myself to the next square I want to go, and then I call my next face, reposition myself, call the next face, reposition myself, call the next face, and so on and so on. The last thing I wanted to do was hide the turtle just so I could take a snapshot, and um, we didn't want the turtle to be in the shot. And we didn't want the turtle to be in the snapshot. So let's see. So that's my code. As you can see, it's pretty long. I had to import math, import turtle. Uh, like I said, all my parameters are interchangeable. Um, yeah, so let's see what the turtle looks like. Once it is completely done. So here is the code running. As you can see, it draws the star squares and then the side M, reverse colors, and as right here, it's going inside the borders, leaving us enough room where we can still fold into our cube. The code just kind of takes a while to run. Um, yep, and there is our finished product.